Short-term goal. Harold will develop the social adaptation to look directly at an individual's face when he's having a conversation at home, in after-school activities, and in an elementary school classroom. Long-term goal. Harold will develop the social adaptation to look directly at the person's face with self-confidence while he's speaking to or being spoken to when he goes to high school, home, work, or in any social setting. The current objective being targeted. Specifically define observable and measurable goal. Include an indication of mastery criteria. Example, Harold will look directly at the education assistant's face when she asks him 10 questions over 1 hour, 40% of the time by the end of October 2020. How behavior will be measured. The operational definition of behavior. Example, the inability to look directly at an individual's face while they are asking Harold questions in a one-to-one ratio scenario. Definition of aspects of behavior that will be measured. Example, the behavior that will be measured is how many times Harold looks at the education assistant's face when she asks him a series of 10 questions. Definition of what time of day behavior will be measured. Example, the education assistant will ask the questions to Harold directly after he transitions from home to school during the morning time. The questions will be asked from him from around 9:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. This is Harold's weekly data sheet. As you can see, Harold reached a rate of over 40%, which was his target goal, by the third week, by reaching a rate of 50%. Plan for baseline data collection. What aspects of behavior will be measured during the baseline? Example, if Harold looks at the education assistant's face when one question is being asked, the act will be counted as 1 point. An example of that is Harold looks at the education assistant's face and receives 8 points for 10 questions, 8 over 10. Description necessary to assess the function of the behavior, including why or why not the function will be accessed. Example, the function will be accessed to improve upon self-confidence as well as the overall social and communication skills beneficial to Harold while being spoken to. Making eye contact is an expected social skill when entering a two-way communication will make Harold more capable of sustaining conversation in the long term. Definition of how long will baseline data be collected for. The baseline data will be collected over 1 week from Monday through Thursday. Description of what level the intervention will begin at. Immediate support with Rock City Elementary School team. At this level, the child will have IEP meetings with the education assistant, teacher, special needs teacher, speech pathologist, principal, and family once per semester. I have chosen this tier as Harold may be experiencing anxiety with managing social interactions due to overstimulation within the classroom environment. Specific description of all steps necessary to achieve the current objective. Step 1. Eye contact to request. Start Harold's eye contact intervention with a fun front-loading experience. Request Harold to look at the reinforcer, which is a jelly bean, while the EA holds the jelly bean near the ridge of her nose. Please note, this does not count as 1 point. Step 2. Eye contact to name. The next is eye contact when asking his name. This entails prompting him to look at the EA's face when she says, "What is your name?" If Harold answers the questions while looking at the EA's face, he will receive a reinforcer. Steps 3 through 11. Eye contact to further questions. The next steps are very similar to step 2. However, the education assistant will ask 9 more funny questions to connect with Harold, as he has recently become familiar with humor. Example, how many pet giraffes do you have? If Harold answers the questions while looking at the EA's face, then give him the reinforcement, the jelly bean. Specific description of the criteria to move between steps in the teaching hierarchy. After Harold reaches a rate of 80% accuracy, he will move to the next teaching hierarchy. During this next phase, Harold will be asked to look directly at the teacher instead of the education assistant's face when she asks him the series of questions. Description of the ongoing data collection. The data chart shows that Harold is making positive gains regarding eye contact when being asked questions. He already reached his target of 40% with the third week at a rate of 50%. However, during the beginning and end of the week, it appears that the intervention is not as effective. I can possibly conclude that Harold's relationship with his father may be a negative reinforcer, as he has visiting rights with him on Wednesday night. I could also possibly conclude that when Harold is away from the school environment during the weekend, regression is taking place. It is important to note that at the end of this intervention time, we will discuss the next teaching hierarchy. Definition of how the outcome will be assessed. Harold will be successful when he can make eye contact while conversing with the teacher, education assistant, or peers during normal class time. This social skill will be observed from afar by the education assistant and teacher. The method of tracking Harold's progress will be a daily tally chart.